worries. How have you been? How's everything going?
Everything's been good. Had a fun little WrestleMania weekend,
Yeah,
so
you enjoy it?
that was enjoyable. Enjoyed it a lot, yeah.
Yeah. What was your favorite match from either night?
Bianca and Belair.
Yeah, that was a great match. That was a great match. I thought Asuka and Rhea tore the house down as well. I thought both of the women's matches were great.
So I like what I look for in these big matches always. Like for me, what interests me is new stuff, new
Mm.
things, and like depth and complexity. And I feel like that Bianca Belair match had a lot of like not only really cool stuff. It was like not that long. Like it
Mm.
was not a. It didn't feel like a like a Tokyo Dome main event length, but it was like they did a lot, and like the hair story and the way they told that throughout the
Mm.
match was absolutely brilliant.
That was great.
And
When you saw Sasha's side there after the whip, my God, I was so
yes,
shocked by how fast it came up as well. Like it literally sliced her. It was ridiculous.
beautiful. And I remember Belair when he started was doing it in every match, the
Mm.
hair whip, and then sort of stopped that,
Mm. It's
which
better,
it
make it more
like
of a moment.
yeah, just
Yeah.
saving it for them, which makes sense in that like in that universe to do that, and that's what like makes WWE matches different
Mm.
or just TV matches different is that you get to have moments like that and people pay attention to long-term stories that you're telling, which doesn't get to happen to most wrestlers, so it's pretty cool to see.
Yeah, it was great the way they did it. Like you say, I was talking to a few mates literally before the match started. I was like, I hope they do something with her hair because no one ever does anything with her hair, even though it's such a good thing to use against her.
The whole match was about the hair, just
Mm.
centered and kept playing with it, and it was really cool. Another thing to notice was that like Sasha didn't like get any major offense in. Like there was
Mm.
no people came in with like Sasha was obviously a favorite, and they kind
Mm.
of played that up, and it was like Bianca comes close, no, Bianca comes closer, no, Bianca comes even closer, no, and then
Yeah,
finally
yeah.
wins,
She
which is
like you could
surprising.
see, yeah, you could see Sasha getting frustrated because she was just being like blocked at every single turn, just couldn't get anything in properly, which was great. It
Brilliant
was no,
stuff,
it's great
man.
storytelling. Are you a fan of the one night or two nights?
I'm not a fan of a 1 7 hour night.
It's a bit much.
It's a bit much, and I think 2 nights makes sense now. Like
Mm.
it doesn't have to be one event. It's not on television. People are going to be mostly watching at home, and
Mm.
people are watching a lot more stuff at home. So 2 nights just makes sense.
Mm. Yeah, sure.
I feel
Yeah.
like there's enough content that you like. There's enough stories, and there's
Mm.
many shows, and like if you look about it, 10 years ago, the stories were only being told once a week on television,
Mm.
and that was it. Like there was Raw, and then there was like the odd little thing, but that was it. But now they play out not only on several TV shows, but on the internet in many incarnations, and stories develop on like things like the Bump and Twitter and
Mm.
all of that. So it just has a lot more content that you need to pay off on television. That's how you need to do it, and I think that's what's fascinating about the AEW universe as well as their
Mm.
use on the internet and how everyone has their own like YouTube shows, and that's created like not only there's Elevation, there's Dark, there's Dynamite, but there's also everyone's YouTube show where
Mm.
the storylines also build up and add up and pay off on TV.
Yeah, for sure. No, absolutely. And I was going to actually, I had that down to ask you, but as you sort of kind of bring it up, with you guys as well, with indie stars, loads of you guys are on Twitch at the minute and things like that. When you're on Twitch, is it almost like a different kind of performance for you from being in the ring? Is it almost the same in terms of you're putting on that show, or is it a different kind of show? I guess is what I'm trying to get at.
It's an so I consider it like an extension
Mm.
of my wrestling, and like everything I do just becomes like an extension of it. Like I feel like independent wrestling is it's an immersive experience,
Mm.
right? In that there's more than just the show. If you watch the difference between a pro wrestling, an independent wrestling show, and for example, a play is that if you go to a play and then the person is like a character, once the play is over, they are completely done with the character.
Mm.
They are off. When as an independent wrestler, the correct way to do it, if you ask me, is to not completely turn it off. But of course, like my character, he got mad at his opponent, beat the shit out of him, cheated to do it, got really angry at the crowd in that moment.
Mm.
But it's still me, and when they come and talk to me at the merch table, it still needs to be me. And same thing on Twitch. it's still like it's still part of that universe. It's still me, and I'm aware that I'm not a Twitch streamer. I'm a pro wrestler first and foremost. Here's Veda with the coffee. Thank
Hi.
you so much. That's okay. Yeah, I am a pro wrestler first and foremost, and like then a Twitch streamer. So my however like until my Twitch gets so popular that I have to put the emphasis on that more than pro wrestling. I feel like it should, like, people come in to my channel to seek out like pro wrestling content mostly, and it kind of needs to all fit together and then build to my pro wrestling, which I'm not doing currently in like a concrete way.
Yeah.
I still practice professional wrestling, but in more abstract ways. Gyms are closed and everything is closed here. Unlike you guys, who just had the
just about today. Yeah. So I remember you posted a little while ago, didn't you? I think you had a comeback match in September, didn't you? Like one match that had been for ages, and so you haven't wrestled since then.
I have not. I've been in a ring again. It's been weird. It's been rough. Like, I got home from Japan last April, and since then, it's been like a real weird roller coaster. I did that one match with Josh Alexander, which was an absolute joy, in front of like 50 people in a parking lot, because that's what Ontario, which is a neighboring province where I am, which is Quebec, was allowed to do. We did a set of closed studio tapings in Montreal when we got the permission to do that. And that's all the matches I've been doing. I teach at the IWS Wrestling School in Montreal, and like that's been quite an experience with the restrictions, and like safety's been really a priority for them. But it's been like we went from classes to no classes to then like online classes, and then being able to do wrestling classes but no physical contact and distancing and like masks at all time, and then sometime being able to do like a little bit of wrestling to then back to Zoom classes, and
just ups and downs all the way.
Yeah.
And I mean, I was going to ask to start when the pandemic first hit, like you say, you got back from Japan. I mean, with things like, you know, not having wrestling and where you were going to be based with, you know, border shut and things like that. And, you know, as well, you know, your personal relationships as well, you know, with Vader and I guess family and friends as well. I mean, how big a decision was it in your mind to be like, right, where am I going to be based for this? Like, where can I stay throughout this entire thing where it's going to be the most beneficial?
I didn't really have a choice for it to be Canada. Like my visa would not allow me to stay in Japan as long, and nowhere else made sense. I mean, I have a home here, and it just made a lot more sense. I didn't really have a choice to be here than anywhere else. I also had no idea that it would be this long, you know. So it wasn't like, oh, where do I want to be for the next year? No, it was like, okay, I'm gonna go back home for a bit, and then, you know, when things open up in a few months, I'll start traveling again. Which of course like didn't happen at all.
Yeah, no, yeah. I think it all went on a bit longer than anyone thought it would, didn't it? It's just it's been pretty ridiculous. But I mean, with that in mind as well, how do you sort of cope with that as someone who, you know, performs as a career, who does that as a career and does so much traveling? I mean, how odd does it feel to then be at home and not be doing all that for so long?
There have been some positives to it, and I've tried to make the most out of my downtime. I have been able to like focus on my diet in a way that I hadn't in a very long time, and eat the same meals every day without like being on the road and just having that be like letting the world dictate how I eat and dictate it. So that like little things like that have been nice. Also, like the Twitch thing has been like what I've spent a lot of time on, but it's not just the Twitch thing. I decided I was going to use that to learn a lot about not only Twitch, but the business behind Twitch and the business behind content creating and podcast and YouTube and all that, as well as all the tech side of it, learning to set up everything for my Twitch and making the graphics for every stream, which I do in order to try to learn Photoshop. I recently posted a video of myself just to sort of announce the fact that my 5-year invisibility from the US was over, and I made that like on After Effects, and I put a lot of care into that, and I did like promos and voiceover, and I filmed it, and that was Veda's idea, and she helped me a lot. But I'm glad I was like, it sort of forced me to figure out all the technical side of stuff, and I've been learning a lot of that and enjoying it, which is for an independent wrestler very, very useful, right? Knowing and being able to do all that.
Yeah, for sure, absolutely.
So just, yeah, trying to make the most of it. Basically, it sucks, and like the fact that I haven't been able to wrestle feels like missing a limb. Basically, like I've been doing this for the past like 15 years, and now I haven't in a year, which feels insane. But still, there's still stuff I can do, so I'm going to do that.
Yeah, no, absolutely, for sure. And obviously, you know, we're all looking forward to having you back once wrestling is properly back, which would be great. But yeah, you mentioned it there with the Twitch. You know, TK mentioned as well, it's very much not just that way to do something, but also to learn a new skill that you wouldn't necessarily have otherwise. And you know, whether it's that, or whether it's, you know, anything else, whether it's, you know, like you say, you're cooking, things like that, you're dieting and things. How important is it to find those things that I guess sort of keep you sane during it while you can't do what you want to be doing?
I was asked a question by my friend and co-coach at the IWS, Shane Hawk, who has his own series on the IWS YouTube channel, but like asking me how do you stay sane during all this, and like I would never coin it anything or use a phrase or call it an actual practice, but he did, and he called it mindfulness. Which is basically like I pay attention to what I do, right? And it's so easy to go through life doing things every day and never get better at them just because you don't care at all. Which I find like cooking is the best example of that. People make food for themselves 3 times a day very often, like not necessarily cook your own meals, but you'll like, I don't know, just heat up something in the microwave or whatever. And it's very easy to just, you're cooking, you spend an hour a day cooking, but you're doing it so mindlessly that you don't like, and you don't look at it as a skill, so you don't get better at it. But it just takes paying a little bit more attention and making the effort of, okay, I did this one time, how can I make it better the next time? And then seeking out what details you have to change to improve it, and doing that on a consistent basis in order to get good at it. I feel like driving is the same way. People go on their commutes. Like people drive to work or wherever they do, like the same road 20 minutes every day. And the normal human reflex is to completely just shut off and put on a podcast and just try to forget that 20 minutes as much as possible. But like if you approach driving as a skill and try to get better at it and make like better stops, sharper turns and everything, then like your life becomes different. I don't know.
Like what do you enjoy cooking? What do you like to cook? What excites you about cooking?
So I watch my calories and macros and all of that. So it's a lot of like diet food, but I think there's a very, very like, this is what I enjoy about cooking, and it's seeking out simplicity, and there's a different stuff you can do at home. Loads of cooking videos that you see on YouTube require like 100 ingredients, and there's no way you can do that because you don't have crushed pistachios in your pantry. You just don't. So like I try to do simple recipes that are healthy in how I need them to be, and like simple enough that I can cook them every other day, right? Because I eat 5 meals a day, 5 like regularly portioned meals. They all take some cooking. Like I pre-make a bunch of stuff and usually like kind of assemble the meals. It's not like a full. I don't have to make and cook all of it every time, but it's all very, very simple ingredients that then put together like make a good meal. And every time I make something, like for example, I've been making a wrap, and that's one of my meals is just a wrap, and I've been making that almost every day since I got back home in the last year. And every time I make my wrap, I try to make one thing better about it.
Nice.
And now my wrap is really, really goddamn good.
Is that like would you say that's your signature dish?
No, that's a pretty basic one. That's a pretty like time like It's not doesn't take very long. It's just
Mm.
full salads and a couple other things inside the wrap, and then just grill the wrap, and that's pretty easy. One recipe I like to give out is for shakshuka,
Okay.
which I think is fairly popular in the UK,
Mm.
but it's pretty easy. One onion, some cloves of garlic, pepper of your choice. Bell is probably the most I don't know common.
Mm.
Could be a hot pepper if you're into that. Saute the ingredients until they get not colored, just translucent. Salt and pepper. Then 1 can of crushed tomatoes or a tin of crushed tomatoes. Let that cook down. Season it, salt, pepper, paprika, chili, and cumin if you have. If you don't, that's okay.
Mm.
Once that's all nice and cooked down, crack as many eggs as you'd like to eat on top. Set the heat to low. Cover it, let that cook, then garnish with ideally feta and cilantro or parsley, whatever you have.
Nice. I like that. I do like shakshuka. I've not tried it with feta before on it, but I do like it just on
I
top of
like
a bit of
feta.
toast for a dinner or something. That's a good
Yeah,
call. I like that.
eat it with crusty bread is the ideal way to do it. Even though, again, depends what you're trying to do with your meal, but crusty bread is the best way to
Yeah,
do it.
always. Anything
Yeah.
with crusty bread is better. But I mean, you mentioned it there, like with your cooking. I mean, how has it? Like you say, as a positive, has that been nice being able to cook more and experience food more like that, rather than traveling so much, just picking up some food after a show, things like that.
So it's weird. I've enjoyed cooking and spending more time on that, and I've enjoyed. My body has enjoyed having a steady diet. I've been able to like just I over the last like I want to say year and a half journey, working out consistently, which has been good. I gained a lot of weight at one point on purpose, trying to gain
Mm.
muscle. Too much in retrospect, but still. And then the old bulking and
Mm.
cutting, which is not a good idea for pro wrestlers. I don't think you're way better off gaining weight slowly. But it took me doing it to find that out, so
Mm.
I guess that's fair. Yeah, just going up and then going down, and then I was able to like cut down the last few pounds and get to a place where I'm really happy with my body and my weight, and that's been very nice. However, I miss Japanese food. I miss so many foods from the UK. One of my favorite things about traveling was getting to try out new dishes and new restaurants and new places to eat, and I've been missing out on that, which feels terrible. But also, restaurants have been closed here for nearly a year, so there's a lot of restaurant foods that I can't get and
Mm.
I'm sorely missing, like pho. I don't know if you know pho.
Yeah, I love her. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I can't. You can't get it to go. It just doesn't work. It's not the same. I
Just
want
a
it
little
hot
cup
and
or
fresh in a
something.
giant bowl, and I want to be able to slurp those noodles. And I don't
Mm.
think slurping is going to be back for a while. I think COVID while slurping is a pretty dangerous
Yeah,
activity.
it's gonna be banned. I think no slurping allowed.
Yeah, no.
No. Again, like you said with that? I mean, my partner would argue that British food is terrible. She's not a fan of it, but she loves Japanese food. But
Yes.
where would you stand on it in terms of I guess there's huge differences between the two. But where you're traveling, what are the foods you miss most in terms of whatever country you're in? After a show, quick bite to eat or something. What are the foods you miss most in that respect?
Well, Japanese ramen is my favorite food,
Mm.
without a doubt. My like, I don't know how much you know about Japanese ramen. It is not the same from a like.
It's not like a
It is
packet.
never. No, it's never an expensive dish.
Mm.
I've had the Michelin Guide. I don't know if you're familiar with it.
Yeah.
I'm sure you are familiar with it. I don't know if your listeners are, but regardless, Michelin, the French tire company, has a guide that rates all the best restaurants in the world, giving them 1 to 3 stars. And it's not like 1 star is bad, 3 stars is good. It's 3 stars is the world's best restaurants.
Mm.
2 is nearly the world's best restaurant, and 1 is up there for the world's best restaurant. There's 2 ramen stores in Japan that have a Michelin star, and I've been to both, and they are like my favorite culinary experience I've ever had was going there. It's wonderful. It's like just watching them. Most ramen stores in Japan are like a small bar, small restaurants. They both seat about 10 people, and it's open kitchen, and you can watch them prepare, and it's like such a beautiful orchestra of them. Just everyone has their station, and the kitchen is impeccably clean. and the food is wonderful, but it still costs about $10 for
Mm.
the bowl,
Yeah.
which is amazing that you can get a Michelin star dish of ramen for $10. So
Yeah. No, for sure.
getting from like the 69-cent packet at the convenience store all the way to $10 Michelin star, the amount of range there
Mm.
is absolutely amazing.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Um,
No, I totally agree with that. I'd be curious. What is the difference, say, between your generic, not packaged one, but say if you go to just a ramen restaurant and you get a bowl, what is the difference between just your regular bowl of ramen in Japan and then the Michelin star one? Like, what levels are there?
the it's the quality of the ingredients. Like, it's
Mm.
not. You would think of Michelin starred ramen, the best ramen in the world. You get, like, you'd expect. Oh my god, does it have Wagyu beef? Does it have a gold leaf on it? Does it have truffle oil? And I think one of them does, but it's still done. It's not really like the toppings vary slightly, but it's just the quality of the broth
Mm.
and the quality of the noodles and how much time the noodles spend in the broth before it's served. And the fact that the little slice of thin pork that you get at every single ramen store in Japan is heated up with a blowtorch before it's served. And like Japanese food, I think is beautiful because it's always so simple. It's like it sushi is a great example of Japanese cuisine
Mm.
because it's always very simple and it just highlights the ingredient more than tries to create a dish around something.
Mm. Yeah.
So, but how can I find a comparison for the difference between dollar store ramen and Japanese ramen? If you get a Hungry Man's frozen dinner and you have the steak in it,
Mm.
compared to going to a steakhouse and ordering a medium rare filet mignon, that would be like kind of the difference. That'd be where I'd situate it.
Yeah, you've just made me extremely hungry now, by the way. It's just might have to make some noodles or something once we're done here. But
So what do you like? What are some of your favorite foods?
my partner loves like all things Japanese. I knew about like Japanese food before we started dating, but I'd never really ate too much of it. But now, yeah, pretty obsessed with things like ramen and pho and like curry dishes, especially like Japanese curry dishes because they're so different to what you'd consider a curry over here.
There's
Like,
a strange like resurgence of like Japanese dishes
mm,
in the UK, I find.
yeah, especially recently.
Sushi's been popular around the world, but even though it's like very Americanized,
Mm.
but like katsu and curry are like getting very popular in England.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, so much more, so much more. It's like ridiculous the rise. It's really like it's that hot thing at the minute, isn't it? It's what's in
Yeah.
style at the minute. But yeah,
So what is the best ramen you've had in the UK? Well, unless you've traveled to Japan.
no,
or
I've
elsewhere.
not. No. Hoping to soon in the next couple of years. But if I'm honest, I don't think I've ever had ramen out. I think we always just make ramen.
What part of the UK are you?
I'm based in London, so
Okay.
so
So
yeah, go
yes,
on.
do you know the good ramen places in
No, see,
London?
this is the thing. So I was based in Brighton,
Yes.
and then
Wonderful Brighton, by
yeah,
the way.
love it.
Beautiful place.
Love it.
Good food city too.
Yeah, really good. Yeah, really like varied as well. They call it like London by the Sea, and it basically is. It's brilliant. I've loved living there. But we moved here because of my work. We moved here during the pandemic, which isn't great because for the last 8 months we've been here, but haven't actually been able to experience
Ah,
living in London. So I
right,
have
right.
no idea where to go here. So if you can recommend somewhere, then
So I need to Google it to make sure I'm remembering the right name. But so Mao, who is my tag team partner in DDT, we spent I think 2 months in England together. Um, and we stayed most of it in Wolverhampton.
oh yeah,
Yeah, and we had a funny experience going to a Japanese restaurant in Wolverhampton. So if you go to Japan, and again, this is why like the better a restaurant will be, the smaller the menu is typically. If you go to Japan and you go to a sushi restaurant, they serve only sushi. If you go to a ramen restaurant, they serve ramen.
yeah,
If you go to a yakitori restaurant, which is little skewers, they serve only.
love those. Yeah,
We went to a Japanese restaurant that had a Chinese name and served like curry, ramen, sushi, yakitori, and all of it. And Mao was like, "What is this? What is happening?" The food was very low quality. However, there's a place in London called Ippudo,
Right.
which is IPPUDO, which is a chain that has locations all over the world, including London. And we went to that one, and it was the real Japanese ramen experience, and
Okay.
as close as we could find.
I'm
in
leaving that
London.
tab open. I'm going to make a note on my phone once we're done here, and that'll
Beautiful.
be lovely. No, thank you for that. I mean, this has been worth it for me now just for that. That's lovely recommendation. And I was going to ask you as well. Away from food, you mentioned it before. Social media being so important to wrestlers, not just indie wrestlers, WWE stars, AEW stars, for wrestlers in general. Social media is quite important, and anyone. With any knowledge, the references you make will take one look at your social media and realize what a huge fan of the Simpsons you are.
Yes.
So where does that like stem from, and what is the attraction for you, and to put it in your captions on social media generally with pictures?
It's I don't know. I can't explain why. I just think it's so. It's funny. It's a good show. It's well written, and I started watching The Simpsons when I was, I don't know, 10, 8, something like that. I have no idea. But I remember coming home from school at 4, and there was The Simpsons in French at 4, and then there were 2 episodes back to back of The Simpsons in English, and then there was like rotating sitcoms, like I don't know, Frasier and Friends or whatever, and then another Simpsons, and then The Simpsons were on again at like 9 p.m. And I would watch like 5 episodes. Again, I watched TV. I didn't have anything else to do.
It's very quotable, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very quotable. It's brilliantly written. I watched like 6 episodes a day, and it's still amazing. And it's the amount. Like I know there's talent and care behind it, and I think that always shines through. And even as a child, where I didn't understand like the depth of the writing and the jokes, I think it still came through to me in a way. And I think anything that is like truly good, I do think there is like an objective. Art is subjective, but there is an objective good behind art. And I think that anything that has as much care and passion behind it, it will always shine through. Whether you consciously understand it or not, I think humans can tell when something has a lot of work behind it. And like, I respect that about The Simpsons a lot. Like, it's brilliant. There's nothing like it. There's been very, very few shows that are as funny. And like the pacing of it is absolutely unique. How like jokes come right after jokes, and there is never an event in The Simpsons that is not funny. And you watch a lot of like, if you watch bad movies or like bad cartoons and compare them to The Simpsons, you can tell just by how much, like if it's meant to be funny, how much time is spent without there having a joke or anything funny happening. And like, yeah, the story's funny, but there's no jokes. Or there's jokes and then there's story, but there's 2 separate things. Where everything in The Simpsons, every time a character moves, it's funny.
Yeah.
Every time, like, there's no details are funny. The jokes are funny, and even like the important parts of the story are funny.
Would you be able to pick a favorite episode off the top of your head if I asked you for one?
Yes, Bart's Comet.
Yes, that's a good one. I wouldn't have thought of that initially as a favorite one, but that is a good one.
Because it's not like, it doesn't stand out. I like 21 Short Stories About Springfield. I like a lot, and I think that's one of the funniest one. However, Bart's Comet is again still in that hot spot where it's just consistently funny, and the jokes are like, it's hilarious throughout. But also, just the message is one that is never ever told, and there's like, I can barely find any media that like does it so well. But like how it took them all to think they're gonna die, like along with Ned Flanders at the end, where they think the comet's gonna hit, so they all freak out, and then they all just like fight amongst each other. And then when Ned Flanders says, "Fuck it, I'll kill myself," and then everyone goes, "Fuck it, let's all go die with Ned," and then they're reminded of the impermanence of their existence, and so they all hold hands and sing.
Yeah.
And then once the comet breaks down to no bigger than the head of a chihuahua, they're like, yeah, fuck it.
Yeah. I'd always go Marge versus the Monroe.
Yes,
that's always top of the pile for me.
So that's moments. That one has a lot of unique moments.
It's really quotable,
songs,
yeah.
The songs in The Simpsons are absolutely amazing.
Absolutely, yeah. No, they do it well. They do it really well. I like the 21 short stories, and it has become the most memeable episode.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Which is brilliant, and it's great it can take on that life as well. But yeah, like I really enjoy you putting them in your comments. Is that like an instinctive thing, or is it like how long do you actually think about it before you sort of put those quotes in your posts?
That's a weird thing. Captions on photos. I don't know. I try to not think about it too much because I know that it's completely random. And so are like tweets and which ones of your tweets people will care about and how the caption will affect the photo feels fully random. I have not been able to track anything like, oh, when I say these things, people really care. When I say these things, people don't care. No, sometimes I'll just put 2 emojis and then that's enough for the picture. But sometimes the picture is objectively not that good, and I'll just write the first thing that comes to my head. And like, it's a strange thing.
Yeah.